Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahakana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Kupesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Devi Panamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhascha Kiba Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So today we'll have the second part of our revision for Unit 18, where we'll revise Chapter 23, as well as we'll revise Chapter 24. Uncle is going to start with 23 chapter.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you. May I start, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, all the assembled devotees, I seek permission and blessings from you all. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Parampara and Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. Seeking permission and being able to speak. Could there be any shortcomings? Please forgive me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prabhuji, I am extremely grateful that you have shown me the way for this Canto 4, Chapter 23. The reason for this statement is, it is a very significant chapter as per my realization, which you will see over a period of time when I am narrating. Today, I am presenting and sharing my humble realization covered under 4 headlines from verses 1 to 39. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 23, title Maharaja Prithu Going Back Home. I am greatly and privileged at the mercy of Lord Krishna to present this divine chapter 23 because, as per verse 38, which conveys Prithu Maharaja's characteristics, anyone who reads or hears of them himself or keeps others to hear them is sure to attain the very planet which King Prithu attained. Hearing is so auspicious that it drives away all bad luck, will counteract contamination of this age of Kali Yuga. Context of this chapter describes how Prithu Maharaja fulfills his divinely ordained role as an ideal king, leaving nothing unfinished in material governance. Consciously hands over the power and withdraws to the forest, proving that real success is detachment after fulfillment. His wife, Queen Archie's departure signifies the soul's journey back to its eternal home, though through devotion and surrender. I have covered this topic in 4 headlines. First one is Prithu Maharaja's Vanaprastha life and austerities and departure. Prithu Maharaja, one of the Sakti Vyasa, incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended to ensure that citizens are happily living and executing their duties. After ruling his kingdom and with unparalleled dharma and justice, he hands over his kingdom to his sons, and with his wife Queen Archie withdraws to the forest, renounces worldly affairs to dedicate himself fully to spiritual life. He enters the Vanaprastha stage, a period meant for austerity, meditation, and detachment. He sets the example in all ways and underwent severe austerities in the Tapavana. He followed the path of spiritual advancement advised by Sanat Kumara. He became free from the conception of bodily life and realized that Lord Krishna is Paramatma. His life in Vanaprastha becomes an inspiration for future kings and spiritual seekers, showing that the true happiness and fulfillment lie in devotion, not worldly power, and retiring from worldly attachment at the right stage without neglecting duties to society and family. Analogy: Prithu Maharaja's transition mirrors the complete surrender of the yogi, embracing austerities, a natural progression towards Krishna conscious life. The second headline is Archie performs Prithu Maharaja's funeral rites and enters the flames. Following Prithu Maharaja's departure, his devoted wife Archie undertakes the funeral rites with complete reverence and discipline, reflects perfect dharma, obedience to the family authority, respect for sacred rituals, and devotion to duty as per Vedic mandates, emphasizing purity, devotion, sanctity, and family responsibilities. After completing these rituals, Archie demonstrates extraordinary self-surrender and devotion by entering the funeral pyre that symbolizes spiritual courage, filial love, and transcendence of the soul beyond material life. Archie's dedication inspires all of us to realize the deeper meaning of life, death, and eternal soul. Analogy: just as the goddess of fortune personally serves the Lord Vishnu, Archie's self surrender represents the highest level of service and devotion. The third headline is Demigods' Wives Praise Archie. The celestial wives of demigods, aware of Archie's supreme devotion, shower flowers and offer prayers, blessings, and heartfelt praise, acknowledging that her qualities reflect the divine grace. The celestial praises serve as a recognition of virtue beyond the human realm. The demigods' wives declare that those who honor their husbands and follow Dharma earn celestial blessings. This section teaches us that true devotion and righteous living attract divine appreciation, lead to eternal merit, serving as an inspiration for all devotees. Analogy: Lakshmi, like Rukmini serving Krishna personally, despite abundant resources, true service is devotional and direct. The fourth one is, the headline is Palastuti, results of hearing and reciting this chapter. In these concluding verses of this chapter, Maitreya Muni presents the Palastuti of the the spiritual assurance for those who hear, recite, or remember the life and departure of King Prithu Maharaja. Hearing these verses purifies the heart and diminishes sinful reactions accumulated over many lifetimes. Through attentive hearing, and one develops detachment from material ambitions and a growing attraction to devotional service. The listeners gain spiritual intelligence, understanding the temporary nature of worldly success and the eternal value of bhakti. Palastudi assures that even householders like us and those who are bound by worldly duties are not disqualified. Simply by sincere hearing, progress towards liberation is achieved. Hence, these verses glorify Sravanam, the path of hearing, as a powerful means of spiritual elevation, culminating in eternal perfection and devotion. Analogy: The history of Prithu Maharaja is about to cross the ocean of nations, that is ignorance. My humble closing thought is this chapter illustrates perfection of human life in devotion, ideal family life leading to transcendental unity, and hearing Bhagavatam as the supreme spiritual enterprise. Faithful listeners begin to transcend material existence and approach the lotus feet of the Lord. Hare Krishna, this is my humble submission. Thank you.
Very good. Questions, comments, realizations for Uncle's presentation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Uncle. It was a very nice recap and a summary of, what devotees are going to benefit by hearing the life of Prithu Maharaj. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji, the importance of hearing was taught in this chapter. Prabhuji. Divine hearing. It's a divine chapter, and hearing is important.
Yeah, very good. Uncle has already done a very good job. I will also quickly summarize chapter 23. So chapter 23 is titled Prithu Maharaj is Going Back Home. It's a straightforward chapter, although as Uncle correctly pointed out, as good benefits of hearing and reciting this chapter. So Prithu Maharaj lived a vanaprastha life and performed severe austerities for the satisfaction of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada says, a Krishna conscious devotee does not need to go to forest and artificially try to imitate Prithu Maharaj or other great sages and munis who previously used to live in forest. Rather, Krishna conscious devotees or anyone else can follow in the footsteps of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and live in a temple, which is a transcendental place as compared to residence in a forest, plus take a vow to accept only Krishna Prasad and nothing else. Follow the 4 regulatory principles and chant at least 16 rounds every day of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So living in temple does not mean you have to physically move into the temple. You can make your home as temple and you are 24 hours living in a temple and living a vanaprastha life. The results of austerities are that gradually one becomes steadfast and he destroys his karma and becomes joyful. His mind is controlled, senses are controlled, plus he is able to cut the bondage from the material world. So Prithu Maharaj is a Shakti Avesha avatar. He descended directly from Vaikuntha. He is eternally a pure devotee. And still Prithu Maharaj adopted this process of devotional service just to teach ordinary people like me. An analogy is also given that if someone has strong digestive power, he does not need to take any medication to digest. Similarly, the fire of devotional service is so strong that a devotee does not need to act separately to attain perfect knowledge or detachment from material attraction. They simply have to absorb themselves in devotional service. Prabhupada also explains that those who follow other paths and attain Brahman effulgence, there is almost 100% chance of them falling down back to earthly planets. Because in the absence of varieties of enjoyment, the spirit soul gradually feels an attraction to enjoy a life of bliss. And not having any information of Krishna Loka or Vaikuntha Loka, he naturally falls down to material activities in order to enjoy material varieties. So Archie, the wife of Prithu Maharaj, that performs Prithu Maharaj's funeral rites and enters the funeral pyre as well. The wives of demigods praise Archie for the austerities Archie performed. The inconceivable activities of Prithu Maharaj and his wife Archie are that the ladies in the higher planetary systems, when they looked down, they could see that Prithu Maharaj's body was being burned and that his wife was entering the funeral pyre. And when they looked up, they could see how they were being carried in 2 airplanes to Vaikuntha Lokas. All of this is possible because this is inconceivable activity. A woman does not need to attain high qualifications. But if she simply follows in the footsteps of her husband, who must be a devotee, then both husband and wife attain liberation and are promoted to Vaikuntha Lokas. And this is shown by the inconceivable activities of Prithu Maharaj and his wife. The Falashruti, as Uncle rightly described, and you all also correctly pointed out, the Falashruti is that hearing and chanting about Prithu Maharaj, one increases devotion, faith, and attraction to Lord's lotus feet. Hearing pastimes of Vaishnavas is the same as hearing pastimes of Vishnu. There is no duality between Vishnu and Vaishnava. So Vaishnava is as important as Vishnu. Therefore, if you read Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, is the same as reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That's a quick summary of chapter 23. Questions, comments, realizations. Shivangi.
I can present now, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so we will now discuss chapter 24. So chapter 24 is a longer chapter and you can always take more time than what I put on the Google document. And the Google document was just an estimate. So by all means, you can take more time if required. Shivangi will start chapter 24.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, seeking permission and blessings from all of you, Srila Prabhupada, Sri Guru Parampara, as well as Sri Radha Krishna, to offer the summary of Canto 4, Chapter 24, titled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva, from verses 1 to 32. Please forgive me for my shortcomings and mistakes. In these verses, we see the genealogical line of Prithu Maharaja, and then find out how his descendants, the Prachetas, meet Lord Shiva to hear the Rudra Gita. After describing the life and character of Maharaja Prithu in the previous chapter, Maitreya Muni begins to speak about the sons and grandsons in the genealogical line of the Prithu dynasty. After the death of Maharaja Prithu, his eldest son, Vijitashva, became emperor of the world. Due to King Vijitashva being very affectionate towards his younger brothers, he wanted them to rule different directions of the world. Maharaja Vijitashva was also known as Maharaja Antardana, and he begot 3 sons from his wife Shikandini, named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, and from his other wife, Nabaswati, he begot 1 son named Havitana. Maharaja Antardana was constantly engaged in performing sacrifices, and because he was a self-realized soul, he was very intelligently rendering devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Thus, by worshipping him, Antardana, wrapped in ecstasy, attained the Lord's abode very easily. His son Havidana had a wife named Havidani, who gave birth to 6 sons named Barhisat, Gaya, Shukla, Krishna, Satya, and Jitavrata. The great sage Maitreya continued to describe King Havidana's very powerful son named Barhisat, who was very expert in performing various kinds of fruitive sacrifices, and he was also expert in the practice of mystic yoga. By these great qualifications, he also became known as a Prajapati in order to beget children and increase the population. Barhisat was also known as Pachinabali, and he was ordered by Brahmaji to marry the daughter of the ocean named Shadadruti, with whom he begot 10 children. All of them were equally endowed with religiosity, and all of them were known as the Prachitas. When all these Pachitas were ordered by their father to marry and beget children, they entered the ocean and practiced austerities and penances for 10,000 years. Thus, they worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead in full devotional service. When the Pachitas left home to execute these austerities, they happened to meet Lord Shiva, who, out of great mercy, instructed them about the absolute truth. Thus, they meditated upon Lord Shiva's instructions, chanting and worshipping them with great care and attention. Lord Shiva became their guru, and by constantly worshipping his instructions, it is a lesson to all of us how this is the secret of success. The disciple must not think about anything else, even about his own return home back to the spiritual world, but he should constantly meditate upon his guru's instructions. At this point, we get into more detail on how the Pachitas meet Lord Shiva. Vidura continues to inquire from Maitreya Muni about how Lord Shiva became pleased upon them and how they ended up meeting. The significance of obtaining an audience of Lord Shiva is noted here. Vidura remarks how very difficult it is for living entities engaged within the material body to have personal contact with Lord Shiva. Even great sages who have no material attachments do not contact him, despite them always being absorbed in meditation. Lord Shiva, the most powerful demigod, second only to Lord Vishnu, is self-sufficient. Although he has nothing to aspire for in the material world, for the benefit of those in the material world, he is always busily engaged everywhere and is accompanied by his dangerous energies, the goddess Kali and the goddess Durga. While traveling, the Pachitas happened to see a great reservoir of water which seemed almost as big as the ocean. The water of this lake was so calm and quiet that it seemed like the mind of a great soul, and its inhabitants, the aquatics, appeared very peaceful and happy to be under the protection of such a watery reservoir. There is a great description of the lake. In this great lake, there were different types of lotus flowers. Combined together, these flowers filled the lake so fully that it appeared to be a great mine of such flowers. Consequently, on the shores there were also swans and cranes and other beautiful water birds standing about. The Prachitas realized that they had arrived in Shivaloka, which is situated near the Himalayan mountains. It is a place where various trees and creepers grow on all sides, with many bumblebees humming about them. In addition to all of this were also many flowers and living entities with pleasing musical vibrations. The Prachitas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva emerging from the water with his associates. As soon as they saw him, they immediately offered their obeisances in great amazement and fell down at his lotus feet. Lord Shiva became very pleased because he is generally a protector of pious persons and persons of gentle behavior. He began to speak. The Prachitas were naturally very pious and gentle, and consequently he could understand that the princes were Vaishnavas, and as such he offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the Prachitas were going to worship Lord Vishnu by severe austerities and penances, he automatically knew this. This indicates that a person who is not yet a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who desires to serve the Supreme Lord, receives the benedictions of the demigods headed by Lord Shiva. Devotees do not need to separately worship the demigods or anyone else, as everyone becomes automatically satisfied once Lord Krishna is pleased. Lord Shiva explains why he appeared before the princes. It's because the princes were devotees of Lord Krishna, and since Vasudeva is the ultimate truth, Lord Shiva openly proclaims that one who is a devotee of Vasudeva is actually very dear to him. The essence of this point is that any exclusive devotee of Lord Shiva is not very much dear to him, but a devotee of Lord Krishna is very, very dear to him. The importance of not seeking other abodes such as Brahmaloka and Shivaloka is stressed herein, as even such great personalities as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva end up going to Krishna Loka ultimately after the material world is destroyed. A person in human society who has developed consciousness must take to Krishna consciousness in order to be promoted to Krishna Loka immediately after leaving the body. This is the highest perfection of life and the perfection of the evolutionary process. Because Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he loves all the devotees of Lord Krishna, and he conveyed as much to the Prachitas. He is not kind and merciful only to the Prachitas. Anyone who is a devotee of Lord Krishna is very dear to him. Not only are the devotees dear to him, but he respects them as much as he respects the Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva then proceeds to share a very confidential and auspicious mantra to the Prachitas. Anyone desiring the ultimate prosperity or auspicious goal of life must take the instructions of Lord Shiva and pray to them and glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Lord Shiva himself did. In this way, Lord Shiva, out of his causeless mercy, continued to speak to the Prachitas who were standing surrendered with folded hands. This concludes the summary. Thank you all for listening. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Kalyani, Srila Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's and Mataji's, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, I will be presenting, thank you for giving me this opportunity to present Canto 4, Chapter 24, section titled as Rudra Gita. So, here Lord Shiva glorifies the Supreme Lord in the various deity form and deity of or function of the deity or purpose of the prayer. So this is where Rajesh Prabhu has given us the table. So I would be just walking through on few of the deities. Okay, so in a few of the ones, the categorizations are on the consciousness, false ego, and intelligence, and the other ones are on the elements of the material nature. So over here on Vasudeva, who is all pervading, the deity of consciousness, Chitta, and the function of the deity is the controller of senses and sense objects. And the purpose of the prayer is, please make my Chitta peaceful and unchanging and make it conscious of Bhakti by revealing your beauty. And the next one is on the deity of Shankarsana. And the deity of, he is the deity of false ego or Ahankar. Function of deity, master of disintegration or destroyer of the universe. The purpose of the prayer is bind my possessiveness to the Lord and my ego to the true identity as his devotee. Pradyumna, who is the deity responsible for universal growth. He is the deity of intelligence, and he is the function of the deity is to the enlightener of the universe. And the purpose of the prayer is wake up my intelligence so that it will situate me in bhakti. Aniruddha, who is the supreme director, deity, and deity of, he is the controller of the mind or mana. Function of the deity is director of the mind, which is the chief of all senses. Purpose of the prayer is attract my mind to Lord's lotus feet through bhakti alone and keep it in perfect state of cleanliness. Deity is Surya, Aniruddha's expansion, the deity of I. Function of the deity is constantly nourishes the jiva by rain, etc., and it opens the doors to heaven and liberation. Purpose of prayer is, may my eyes be purified to see the form of the Lord. Agni, the deity of speech, accomplishes the actions of the four priests and expands the fire of sacrifice. And purpose of prayer is to engage my words in chanting the glories of the Lord. Soma, the master of the three Vedas or three worlds, is the deity of mind. The function of deity is to provider of Pitraloka as well as all the demigods. Purpose of the prayer is to please purify my debts to the Pitas, demigods, sages, and Jivas. And Soma is also the deity of taste. The function of the deity is giver of taste for the Jivas and the form of all taste. Purpose of prayer is to make my tongue the sweetness of the things related to the Lord. Let me not taste anything except prasadam. Deity is Hiranyagarbha, deity of embodiment of earth. Function of the deity is to contain all source of all living beings. Purpose of prayer is to stimulate my nose to smell the fragrance of the Lord, engage my body and all senses in Lord's service. Deity is the Virat Rupa, embodiment of earth, form of all elements. Deity is Vayu, which is the deity of air. Function of deity is the protector of three worlds who maintains the mind, senses, and the body. Purpose of prayer is make the mind, senses, body suitable for worshipping the Lord, stimulate my touch to feel the softness of the Lord's body. Deity Nabha or ether was the deity of sound, reveal the actual meaning of everything, supports everything internally and externally, the ultimate goal of pious acts both in the world and beyond. Purpose of the prayer is make my ears hear about the beauty of the Lord, reveal the meaning of the name, mantra, and bhakti scriptures. This is about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the giver of inspiration in all results. He is the instigator of dharma. He is the giver of results of worshipable pitras, giver of results of irreligious acts, giver of death and miseries, topmost of benedictors. He is the supreme Manu, perfection of all kinds of mantras, is the cause of all causes, greatest of all religious principles, one whose mind is never checked, the primeval person, master of the Sankhya principles, and I offer my respects unto you. And the last one is, in the section is Lord Shiva, who is the deity of false ego or ahankar, and reservoir of the three kinds of energies, which are Adi Daiva, which is demigods, controlling demigods. Adhyatma is the senses. Adibhuta are the elements, is the source of egotism, form of knowledge and senses, revealer of three Vedas. May the Lord's mercy purify false ego so that real ego can be awakened, the soul performing devotional service. Then moving on to the next section. In one of the purports, Prabhupada emphasizes there are 6 kinds of transformations that agitate the conditioned souls, meaning souls become agitated when they are thirsty, hungry, aggrieved, illusioned, grow old, or on deathbed. Although conditioned souls become very easily illusioned by the conditions of the material world, the Supreme Lord Vasudeva is never agitated by these. Lord Shiva is qualified to glorify the Supreme Lord. Lord's form as a collection of all beauty. And Prabhupada in one of the purports explains about the difference between Pancharatrika Vidhi and Bhagavat Vidhi. Pancharatrika Vidhi is following the regulative principles. worship of Narayana. Neophytes worship as per Pancharadrika Vidhi, as per the regulative principles. Bhagavat Vidhi is Krishna can be in the Radha Krishna can be worshipped in the Bhagavad Vidhi, and this is in the Raganuga Bhakti. No one can worship the Lord without following the Pancharatrika Vidhi. Radha Krishna worship cannot be approached by neophyte devotees. Therefore, temple worship is as per regulative principles. Lakshmi Narayana worship. Raga Marga, those who are in the mood of love, especially the devotees who are at the Vrindavana platform, such as the Gopis, Yashoda, Nand Maharaj, are on the Bhagavat Marg platform. Although there are 5 rasas, Bhagavat Marg is meant for Vatsalya and Madhurya. And further on, Lord's ever increasing beauty and description about the Lord's shoulder and chest, description about the beauty of the Lord's navel and belly, and the lower body and the lotus feet. And further on, the results of meditating on the Lord's form is explained. And bhakti is the topmost. Lord is only attainable by bhakti. Time or death cannot touch a devotee. And power of devotee association and association of devotee is Lord's real mercy. And Rudra Gita was initially chanted by Lord Brahma, then by Lord Shiva, and other Prajapatis were instrumental in then creating and maintaining living entities. Rudra Gita brings good fortune, removes ignorance, helps one achieve the greatest perfection without delay. One can very easily be able to invoke the mercy of the Lord. One will become free from material bondage and will acquire whatever one wants from the Supreme Lord. Rudra Gita is praised by Lord Shiva and Lord Narayana. When one chants the Rudra Gita in the morning and evening, he or she attains good intelligence and will be able to fulfill all his or her desires. If one remembers the Prachetas every evening, he or she will have no enemies, becomes friendly with family members and other living entities. Hearing about Pracheta's pastime will grant long life, wealth, good reputation, good fortune, and ultimately the opportunity to return home back to Godhead. Thank you, Prabhujis and Matajis. Hare Krishna.
All right, very good. Shalini.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. Seeking permission and blessings from you all, Srila Prabhupada, all gurus in disciplic succession, and Sri Radha and Krishna, I will try to present a summary of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, Part 4, on how to chant the Rudra Gita and Falashruti. Please forgive me for any shortcomings or mistakes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We just heard about the Rudra Gita prayers which were sung by Lord Shiva to the Prachetas. We shall now discuss on how to chant the Rudra Gita and its Phala Sruti, where Phala means benefits or fruits and Shruti means hearing or chanting. How to chant the Rudra Gita? One should worship the Lord. One should chant the Rudra Gita, study and contemplate on the prayers, chant the Rudra Gita with great respect and attention. Now, I will elaborate on few points from Srila Prabhupada's words. One must engage in their occupational duty. So, material engagements can be countered if we make our relationship with the Lord our primary duty and chanting His glories and always fixing our mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. One can execute devotional service anywhere and everywhere in this material world simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead with great attention and reverence. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation and one's life becomes perfect. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.46, Yataha pravatirbhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmanatam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, man can, in the performance of his duty, attain perfection. That's the translation. Lord Chaitanya has also given in his Sistashtaka, Kirtanya Sadahari. The holy name of the Lord should be chanted 24 hours daily. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Jivera Swarupa Hai Krishnera Nityadas. Every living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, one engages constantly in the service of the Lord. He realizes the highest perfection of life and all his desires are fulfilled. Now, the Lord advises that one who takes advantage of these prayers, the Falasruti, are as follows. One becomes a devotee of the Lord. One gets knowledge to cross over the ocean of nescience and makes life perfect. One who pleases the Lord will be able to invoke his mercy. And hearing these prayers and letting others hear these prayers frees one from the bondage of karma, and reciting these prayers is equivalent to performing austerities. Let us look at few of the key points from Prabhupada's purports for these Falashruti. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.28, Vasudeva Para Veda, Vasudeva Para Makha. The ultimate goal of life is Vasudeva or Krishna. Any devotee of the Lord can attain all perfection, material gains, liberation simply by offering prayers to Him. Actually, everyone is suffering within this material world due to ignorance and continues to commit sinful activity. Lord Shiva advises, however, those who can take advantage of his prayers will soon become devotees of Lord Vasudeva and get the knowledge, thus will be able to cross the ocean of nescience and make life perfect. In the conditioned state, we are entangled by one fruitive activity after another. Karma bandhana means the bonds of fruitive activity. As long as one's mind is absorbed in fruitive activity, one has to manufacture plans for happiness. Whereas the Bhakti Yoga process is so distinct that as Bhakti Yoga entails acting according to the Supreme Authority's order. When we act under the direction of the Supreme Authority, we do not become entangled by any fruitive results. One who engages in transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord has nothing to aspire for separately. All his desires are fulfilled simply by constantly engaging in the Lord's loving service. Lord Shiva, he shows us through these prayers that any devotee can be successful simply by chanting the prayers that he has recited. Thank you everybody for listening. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Questions, comments, realizations for the presenters?
Sharp and crisp and educated.
All right. All presenters have already done a very good job today. First, Uncle for chapter 23, and then Shivangi, Sridhar, and Shalini Prabhus for chapter 24. I will also quickly summarize chapter 24. So this Canto 4, chapter 24 is titled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. It's known as Rudra Gita. At the start, there are straightforward lot of names in the Prithu Maharaj's dynasty that Shivangi summarized quite nicely, so I'm not going to go into detail again. Srila Prabhupada describes what is the deciding factor to judge the success of austerities and penances. Answer is, if one achieves the favor of Supreme Lord, then it is to be understood that he has finished all kinds of austerities and penances, and he has attained efficiency in executing these. On the other hand, if one does not attain the perfect stage of devotional service, all austerity penances actually have no meaning, because without the Supreme Lord, no one can attain the highest results derived from performing them. And Srila Prabhupada describes what is the perfect meditation and the secret for success. That simply by meditating upon the instructions of the spiritual master, this is the secret of success. After getting initiated and receiving the orders of spiritual master, the disciple should unhesitatingly think about the instructions and the orders of spiritual master, and should not allow himself to be disturbed by anything else. The disciple should consider simply to execute the order, and disciple should simply meditate on the order of spiritual master and not be worried about going back home, back to Godhead. The disciple's only business should be to execute the order of spiritual master. This is perfect meditation. Next discussion is that the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva arrives and he is pleased with Prachetas because Shiva knows Prachetas are going to worship Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna's devotees do not need to ask benedictions from demigods, because one who desires to serve the Supreme Lord receives benediction from demigods, headed by the chief demigod Lord Shiva. Therefore, a devotee of Krishna does not need to try to please the demigods separately. Simply by worshipping Krishna, a devotee can please all of them. And the devotee also does not need to ask the demigods for material benedictions, because the demigods, being pleased with the devotees, automatically offer him everything that he needs. Demigods are servants of the Lord, and they are also prepared to help the devotee in all circumstances. By being situated in transcendental position of devotional service, the devotee receives all the benefits of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The relationship between Lord Vishnu's devotees and Lord Shiva is that Krishna's devotee do not disrespect Lord Shiva. Rather, they worship Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Krishna. Whenever a devotee worships Shiva, he prays to Shiva to achieve the favor of Krishna, and he does not request material benefit. This is the difference between devotees' respect of Shiva and the Asuras' respect for Shiva. Because Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, he naturally loves all the devotees of Krishna. Similarly, devotees of Krishna also worship Shiva as the most dear devotee of the Lord. They do not worship Shiva as separate from the Lord. And Lord Shiva blesses the Asuras simply for the sake of formality. Actually, he loves the devotees who are devoted to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now Shiva chants the Rudra Gita. For his purification, Lord Shiva starts by offering obeisances to the Lord as well as to the presiding deities of consciousness, ego, intelligence, as well as the deities of various elements. Why is doing that? He is doing it for his purification so that he can offer prayers to the Lord. So Shiva prayed to Vasudev that please make my chitta peaceful and unchanging and make it conscious of bhakti by revealing your beauty. To Sankarsana, the master of integration, Shiva prayed, bind my possessiveness to the Lord and my ego to my true identity as the Lord's devotee. To Pradyumna, who is responsible for universal growth, Shiva prayed, wake up my intelligence so that it will situate me in bhakti. To Aniruddha, the supreme director, Shiva prayed that attract my mind to the Lord's lotus feet through bhakti alone and keep it in the perfect state of cleanliness. And similarly, Shiva prays to various other personalities. I'm not going into all those details again. Sridhar Prabhu has summarized many of them nicely. Shiva also glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the giver of inspiration and all the results. Krishna is the instigator of dharma, giver of results of worshipping Pitras, giver of results of even irreligious acts, giver of death and miseries, topmost of benedictors. He is the supreme Manu. Perfection has perfection of all kinds of mantras. He is the cause of all causes. He is the greatest of all religious principles, one whose mind is never checked. He, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, is the primeval person, is the master of Sankhya Yoga, and Shiva offers respects unto Krishna. By offering respects to the presiding deities of senses and the elements, in this way, Lord Shiva first purified his body, senses, mind, and now Lord Shiva is qualified to offer prayers to the Lord. Therefore, Lord Shiva describes Lord's glorious bodily features for meditation. The difference between Pancharatrika Vidhi and Bhagavad Vidhi is also described here. That generally, worship of the Lord begins with the worship of Narayan, whereas the worship of Lord Shri Radha and Krishna is very confidential. Lord Narayan is worshipable by the Pancharatrika Vidhi or the regulative principles, whereas Shri Radha Krishna are worshipped by the Bhagavad Vidhi. No one can worship the Lords in the Bhagavad Vidhi without going through the regulations of the Pancharatrika Vidhi. Actually, neophyte devotees should worship the Lord according to Pancharatrika Vidhi, the regulative principles, which Sri Narad Muni has given in Narad Pancharatra. Shri Radha Krishna cannot be approached by neophyte devotees. Therefore, temple worship is according to regulative principles and is offered to Lakshmi Narayan, although there may be Shri Radha Krishna's Archa Vigraha form. The devotee is offering everything to Lakshmi Narayan. Worship according to Pancharatrika Vidhi is called Vidhi Marg, and worship according to Bhagavad Vidhi is called Rag Marg. Principles of Rag Marg are specially meant for Vrindavan devotees. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, which are the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nand Maharaj, the cowherd boys, and the cows, they are actually in Rag Marg or the Bhagavad Marg platform. We should not just jump there. Shiva says, Bhakti is the topmost. Lord is attainable only by Bhakti, and simultaneously Bhakti is very rare. Time cannot touch a devotee, while time destroys everything for the karmis and jnanis. And Shiva glorifies devotee association. He says the association of devotee is actually Lord's real mercy. Shiva also goes on to describe the relationship between Lord, Jiva, and material creation. The reason being, some sages see the Lord's form as Brahman. Therefore, Shiva is describing that Brahman is actually Lord's effulgence. As well as Shiva goes on to describe everything or every personality, or at least the main personality is related with material creation. He goes on to describe Mahavishnu, Paramatma, time, of course the Brahman effulgence. All these are part of material creation. And Shiva also gives a high level steps for the creation steps, which we have discussed in Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, lead all the way to Canto 3, Chapter 5. Material world is created to give facility to living entities who want to imitate the activities of the Lord. Just as parents give toys to children who want to imitate parents cooking in the kitchen. Child's display lasts for few minutes to few hours, while living entities' imitation attempt lasts for many lifetimes. And Prabhupada also describes that human society is like a beehive. Just as bees bite one another while trying to enjoy honey, similarly, humans also suffer bites from another person or another nation while trying to enjoy their hard-earned money. And Shiva concludes that an intelligent person worships the Lord's lotus feet. Originally, Brahmaji recited this Rudra Gita And Shiva also explains to the Prachetas how to chant this Rudra Gita to achieve auspiciousness. Shiva says, perform your prescribed duties with pure heart and chant this Rudra Gita. Worship the Lord. Study and contemplate on these prayers and chant with great respect. The phala are, one becomes a devotee, one gets knowledge to cross the ocean of nescience, one pleases the Lord. Hearing these prayers and letting others hear these prayers frees one from all bondage of karma. And reciting these prayers is equivalent to performing austerities. As Uncle also started the discussion today, the benefit of Muthu Maharaj prayers is that you will get free from bondage, and Shiva also gives the similar or same phala, one of the phala, to become free from the bondage of karma by reciting the Rudra Gita. That's a summary of chapter 24 Rudra Gita. Questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, both the chapters 23 and 24 are very significantly important to read and read and read. And you refine your realization.
You are absolutely correct. That therefore, what does Shiva say? How to chant this Rudra Gita? He says, perform your prescribed duty and simultaneously recite. Meaning, he told to Prachetas, and he's telling through Prachetas to all of us that perform karma mishra bhakti. That while doing your karma, increase the bhakti more and more and more, and you will get the phala. Very good realization. Any questions, comments, realizations? So spiritual endeavor for next class is that you will read Canto 4, Chapter 25. So at our previous class, I already described that this next unit, number 19, chapters 25 to 28, is an allegory that these characters don't exist. Sri Narad Muni is using a story form to teach Prachana Bharisas. So all of you already understood when I described this at the last class. The last 10 minutes, I have a question for all of you. So Shivangi and Chandan Prabhu's already know about this from the other batch. So during the holidays, I had given you this document and Bhakti Yoga Prabhu's lecture on how to meditate or how to take darshan. So these document that we have on the screen are Canto 3, Chapter 28, verses 13 to 33 on how to meditate on the limbs of the Lord. Did anybody read? Anybody remember some key points from here? Anybody read? No, it went into a black hole.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to ask, because I don't know why I am a little bit blank on this. So when was this sent, Prabhu?
All right. So, all right. So I will send again right now. And
I also feel that we have never received, Prabhuji.
okay, possible. Okay, I'll send again. So these are the instructions that Lord Kapila gave on how to meditate on the limbs of the Lord. And what Pragya from the other batch, what she did was, she wanted to explain how to meditate on the limbs of the Lord to a materialistic friend. And she was having hard time to explain all these points, that how the verses explain that the Lord has a beautiful lotus-like face, and he has a shining yellow garment, and the curly hair, the Shivasta. Then his bodily color is like the linseed flower color. So all these features, Pragya from the other batch was having difficulty to explain. So Pragya created a video, and I'm going to play this video right now for all of you. Let's see.
Hey, welcome to our explain.
So I'll bring it on screen. So I'm going to play at high volume. It's an impactful video. So you can lower the volume at your end first. I'll give you a minute. Lower the volume and then I'll play.
Hey, welcome to our explainer. Today we are diving into a really fascinating meditation technique, one that comes straight out of the Vaishnava tradition. It's essentially a guided visualization, a very specific, step-by-step method for focusing the mind on the divine. So let's get right into it. So, our journey today is actually going to mirror the meditation itself. First up, we'll talk about why meditating on a form can be so incredibly powerful. Then, we're going to start at the very foundation, the Lord's feet, and slowly move up through the body, all the way to the climax at the compassionate face. And finally, we'll see what the ultimate goal of all this is, a mind that's totally steady and at peace. But before we jump into the how, let's just touch on something we've all experienced, right? Why is it so incredibly hard to just quiet our own minds? You've been there, I've been there, you try to focus, and then 2 seconds later, your thoughts are a million miles away. Well, that mental restlessness is the exact problem this practice is built to solve. Okay, so our source material lays out this really fascinating contrast. On one side, you've got meditation on a personal form, which gives the mind a solid, concrete anchor. This is described as a really natural process for the mind. But on the other side, meditating on an abstract void is called very troublesome. And the idea here is that the mind just isn't built to grasp on to nothingness. It's kind of like trying to grab a handful of smoke. So where does a meditation like this even begin? Well, the instructions are super specific. You don't try to picture the whole thing at once. Instead, the practice starts at the very foundation, the lotus feet. The yogi is meant to concentrate on each part one at a time. It's this methodical, bottom-up approach that's so key to building focus without getting completely overwhelmed. Let's get into the details here. The meditation kicks off with the soles of the feet, which are described as having these auspicious marks, like a thunderbolt and a lotus. Then your focus moves to the nails. They have this ruby-like glow, and they're even compared to the moon, whose light is said to just dispel the darkness and confusion from a person's heart. And this right here gets to the heart of why the meditation starts at the feet. See, it's not just a visual thing. The text says that this intense focus literally acts like a thunderbolt, shattering the mountain of sin. You could think of that as all our negative conditioning stored in the mind. It's a purification process that really prepares you for the rest of the journey. All right. So with the mind a bit more purified and that foundation firmly set, the meditation starts its ascent. The focus now begins to move, systematically, up the form, building this incredible visualization piece by piece. You know, the level of detail here is just remarkable. The yogi contemplates the thighs, described as being the color of a linseed flower. Then the hips, with their girdle and this exquisite yellow silk garment. The focus then moves up to the chest, which has the special Srivatsa mark. That's a unique curl of white hair. And then to the neck, which is adorned with the brilliant Kazatuba gem. Now this brings us to a really cool idea, spiritual freshness. The text explains that unlike our world where everything fades, Things in the spiritual realm never do. They're inexhaustible. Take the Lord's flower garland. Even after the flowers have been picked, they stay so fresh and fragrant that bees are just forever humming around them. And to really hammer this point home, the Source gives us this wild piece of metaphysical math. In the spiritual world, 1 minus 1 is 1. It's this powerful way of saying that everything is inexhaustible. Nothing can ever be diminished. It's a total flip of the logic we're used to, right? As the meditation keeps moving upward, the symbolism just gets bigger and bigger, truly cosmic in scale. The navel is seen as the very foundation of the entire universe, where creation itself sprouts from. The chest is the home of Mahalakshmi, the goddess of fortune and the source of all energies. Literally every single detail is just packed with profound meaning. Next, the yogi focuses on the Lord's forearms, which are the source of power for the whole cosmos. And in his hands you see his implements, the dazzling Sudarsana discus, the conch shell that looks like a swan, and the powerful Kaumodake club, which is used to vanquish all kinds of negativity. And now, we've arrived. This is the culmination of the entire journey. After building this visualization from the ground up, the final and really the most intimate point of focus is the Lord's captivating and compassionate face. I mean, listen to how poetic this language is. The face is compared to a lotus, the hair to swarming bees, and the eyes to a pair of swimming fish. But even these beautiful images, the text says, are completely put to shame by its elegance. But here's the most crucial part. It's about the power of his gaze. It's not just about beauty, it's about the feeling it gives you. The text says his compassionate glances are a direct remedy for the threefold agonies. Those are the deepest kinds of suffering we all experience, whether they come from our own minds, from other people, or from nature itself. This compassionate gaze, along with his loving smiles, are seen as a manifestation of abundant grace. So it's not just a passive image you're looking at, it's an active bestowal of favor and comfort on the person who's meditating. And this might be the most powerful description of them all. The Lord's smile, it said, has the power to dry up an entire ocean of tears caused by intense grief. For the yogi, meditating on this smile is the ultimate cure for sorrow. From that smile, the focus shifts to the Lord's laughter. And again, the details are so vivid, small teeth like jasmine buds, colored by his lips. Even his eyebrows have a purpose. They're described as so captivating they can charm away lust itself, helping the yogi move beyond material attachment. So, after all of this, what is the ultimate goal of this entire meticulous process? Well, it's what the scriptures call the perfection of yoga, to achieve a mind that is completely fixed, steady, and at peace. And this is where it all leads. After being guided so carefully to this point of profound beauty and compassion, the mind just becomes fully absorbed and totally satisfied. The text says the yogi no longer wants to see or chase after anything else. That constant restlessness we talked about at the beginning, it's finally gone. So let's just do a quick recap of the entire journey we've just explored. You start at the feet to purify the mind. Then you ascend limb by limb, taking in all the divine weapons and ornaments. The journey culminates at the captivating face, where the mind is finally absorbed in compassion and you achieve that ultimate goal, perfect stillness. And that brings our explainer to a close, but it leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. This text proposes one very specific, very beautiful object of focus. But for all of us, in our own lives, what is the ultimate object of our attention, and where does that attention ultimately lead us? Thanks for joining us.
Questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Amazing presentation, and how she's put everything together for especially somebody, as she mentioned, who's not a devotee. There is clear direction as to what is to be done and how to meditate.
Yeah, you
Very
can thank Pragya directly. I'll post her phone number in the chat. Can message directly to her, please.
I will, Prabhu. Thank you.
Meditation explanation is simplified by technological input. Beautiful, complex things made into simple realization.
Yeah.
Very lovely.
Yeah. Do you all want this?
Yes, Prabhuji, please can you share?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So I will share the PDF document also for how to meditate on the limbs of the Lord or how to take darshan. So I've sent in the chat. You can please download. I also have the video also that Pragya made. I also posted Pragya's phone number. You all can, if you like it, you can thank Pragya directly.
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
by the way, about a month or 2 months back, you in fact narrated how to meditate. One of the devotees asked me how to meditate, and you did explain, and I am practicing it since 2 months of that.
Okay, very good.
Starting with the lotus feet, and on a lotus, the Lord standing with the pinky bottom, and then the legs, then
Yeah,
the
so all those verses, so the verses that I just posted here in Canto 3, chapter 28, verse 13 to 33, that's exactly what discussed. So I'm somehow uncle remembers. All right, very good.
No, I'm practicing it since 2 months
Okay, very good.
in the
Very good.
morning.
Yeah, very good.
And you also come there at that time.
Okay, yeah, I don't need to be there. Krishna
You
is good
need
enough.
not be there, but it is coming. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, so you have to remove me. You have to just focus on Krishna. Our
Yes,
purpose and our goal of meditation is Krishna, nobody else.
absolutely.
All right. Now we are just past 12 noon Toronto time. We will stop here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, thank you.